final award is the James J. Corbett Memorial Award, the highest honor one can achieve in college athletics administration. This year's recipient is NACDA past president and Hall of Fame member Kevin White. Kevin retired as vice president and director of athletics at Duke University in August of 2021 after serving in that role since May of 2008. Throughout his career and into retirement, he has been well known as one of the most driven, successful, but also humble athletics directors in the business. A total of 38 current and former athletics directors served on Kevin's various leadership teams over the years. That's probably a record somewhere. One of those leaders is Stan Wilcox, current executive vice president of the NCAA, former athletic director, and a colleague with Kevin. Stan is here to moderate a brief chat with Kevin on what receiving the Corbett Award means to him. If we can please welcome Stan Wilcox and Kevin White to the stage.
Thank you, Ross.
Thank you.
So Kevin, here we are. Another award.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
I think we've run out of prospects.
Well,
I'm outliving everybody. I think that's the answer here.
But this is the highest award. This is
Oh my gosh.
for NACDA. So what are you going to do? You've got the Corbett Award. Are you going to Disney? We're in Orlando. Are you going to Disney? The entire family is here as well to support you.
We've got a good number of our family here. Of course, Jane made that a command performance for 3 of our kids, and she's a good recruiter. By the way, she was a better coach than I was, and she was always a better recruiter. But in any event, let me just say before you gonna get working here, Stanley, that I have never been more proud and honored and, quite frankly, humbled by way of any recognition in my career. I was fortunate enough to coach for 9 years, and then I was an athletics director for 38 at 6 different institutions. And those who just kind of concluded I could never keep a job, that's accurate, by the way. But I was at a number of different places and loved each and every one of them. But I can also tell you, if I can digress really quickly before we get started, because I know our time is limited, I can remember like it was yesterday in 1982 when I labored over moving from coaching to athletics administration. And Jane and I went to a small Catholic college in Dubuque, Iowa, Loras College. And I turned the job down twice. And then finally, in a weak moment, they came back a 3rd time. And I kind of just said, okay, I'm going to go do it. And I had no idea what the hell I was doing. No idea. And I had never been an assistant AD, an associate AD, a deputy AD. I was not ever involved in the food chain. And so I can tell you, and that was 82 summer, and so 83, I had learned, by the time it was 83, I had learned about NACDA, and I remember making contact with Mr. C, the godfather of NACDA, Mike Cleary, and I went to my first convention, down in Marco, and we turned it into a family vacation, and it was awesome, and Mike immediately connected me to the NACDA infrastructure and world. And all of a sudden, I had champions and mentors, and Gene Corrigan and Roy Kramer and Bill Flynn and Sed Dempsey, and it was amazing, actually. And what a transformation! And without all of those guys behind me, I wouldn't be sitting in front of you today. But it all starts with Mike Cleary.
Well, Kevin, let's get right into it. So you've written a book that's now out. It's called The Good Sport: Reflections on a Full Life in College Sports. So could you maybe share with the audience, number one, why did you decide to write this book? And then number 2, could you give us maybe in a nutshell, basically what the book is about?
You know, I'll go 1, then 2. The first part of it is the why. In 2022, again, the head coach of our family, that would be Jane White, orchestrated a 50-year anniversary over in Dublin. And all 28 of our family members, our 16 grandkids and our 5 children and their spouses, all were going to go on this, and did go on this trip. But 2 days prior to their arrival, anticipated arrival, John Anthony Travel, and John and Katie knew we were going to do that, they orchestrated a surprise visit by way of about 25 former colleagues to show up in Dublin and provide kind of an offshore retirement party, because the retirement party that was scheduled was canceled because of COVID. And so, you know, we're at some pub in Dublin, you can just imagine it, and cabs are pulling up and people are popping out, and all of a sudden we got 25 former colleagues and we owned this bar. And a lot of conversation about the journey, the 9 years coaching and the 38 years as an AD, and everybody kind of put a lot of pressure on me. You got to write this damn thing down. You got to write a book. And you know, I think I kind of felt like the commitment they made, I really needed to at least give it an effort. And before you know it, in September, I'm writing a book, and I wrote the whole darn thing on my iPhone. And I'm in airports, and I'm in gates, waiting to get on planes. I'm in the dental office before they'll have me back. And and it took 2 years, but it was in those kinds of moments that I wrote this thing, 66,000 words, 200 pages. And you know, we're getting close to the holidays, so put that on your Christmas shopping. It's called The Good Sport. Remember that. But in any event, that's the why. And but the book is basically a memoir. And if you're crazy enough to take a look at it and invest in it, you'll find out that I had a very unusual life. In a lot of ways, a very rich life. Tremendous. Our family was very unique, quite frankly. And I won't spoil it for you, but not like every American family. We were very unique. And I grew up on Long Island. And so from there, I kind of started and kind of, steeped into my New York Irish background from Dunlo, Donegal, which I'm really connected to, by the way, and have been almost my whole life. And my immigrant grandparents lived with us when I grew up, so you know, there's a lot of that in this book. So you'll have to get beyond the Irishness to get to the athletic stuff. And then I went from school to school to school and kind of talked about my experience. So it's a memoir coupled with a lot of family history, and then the different experiences that Jane and I enjoyed at every stop on the tour. But it was just so great. It was absolutely great.
So also, can you tell the audience, you know, you've had so many accolades, so many awards. You've mentored so many individuals to go on to become athletic directors and commissioners and other administrators. And you've been at 6 different institutions that you've led. Could you maybe talk about or think of 1 or 2 accomplishments during that period of time in your career that really stand out for you?
You know, that would be a long list, and I don't want to bore our audience of like 3,000 with taking that trek right back down memory lane. But I can tell you, and we got 3 of our boys here today. Mike, who's the basketball coach at Georgia, Danny, the AD at Tennessee, and Brian, the AD at Florida Atlantic, and Mariah, our youngest, was an assistant AD at SMU. It does sound like a little bit of a theme here, I guess. And our oldest daughter, Maureen, who's an English teacher out in Scottsdale at Notre Dame Prep, helped me write the book. And so, quite frankly, you know, one of the biggest accomplishments we've had, I think, is creating this business mentality for our family. And it wasn't by design. You know, I kind of created opportunities for our kids to do, have internships in corporate America and at different places. And at the end of the day, they were all in this crazy business. And so that's one of the really great byproducts of all of this. And to have our kids in college athletics, I mean, for me, it's been everything. I love Gary's comments on the video. I'm a first-generation high school grad in this country. And so you'll read that in the book. And then, obviously, then the first one to go to college. And you know, athletics administration, if not higher education, has been really great to our family. And then when I think about, you know, I think Ross was very kind, and he said we had 38 current and former colleagues that became ADs. Actually, the number is 39, because a pundit just did an inventory of it. And that's why I was able to do it for so long. I was surrounded by such great people, not unlike my wonderful friend right here, and Stan Wilcox for almost a decade at Notre Dame and at Duke. But we had so many great people, and those 39 ADs probably served 80 to 85 institutions, because a lot of them had more than one job. And so when I think about what NACDA put me in play, and then put my family in play, and then put my colleagues in play, I mean, NACDA's always been my North Star. I love this organization. And I know we have 3,000 in the room. We have 6,500 in Orlando. I just checked these numbers. And we got 24,000 that are NACTA members today. Wherever Pat is, you guys have done a brilliant job building this organization. And the White family has benefited greatly by way of what you've created here.
I won't ask you who is your favorite AD that you come from your tree, because I already know what the answer is, so I won't even ask that question. Okay?
Well, family
you
excluded.
don't have to answer the question. I know the answer. But, okay, so the next question I want to ask you, Kevin, and you touched upon this a little bit in your book. We're going into this new era. We've got NIL, we got the House settlement done, we got transfer portal, and we got revenue sharing. And this is obviously in Division I. But can you give some advice, or what are your thoughts around maybe what are the ethical responsibilities that administrators have now in trying to balance the educational piece with this new commercial enterprise?
Stan, and you and I have had so many conversations, particularly with your position as EVP at the NCAA. I mean, there's a lot of philosophical kinds of things that need to be not only examined, but re-examined and thought about. And we need to become more contemporary and new age. I get that. And people that are closest to me would tell you, and I'm 74, soon going to be 75. I can tell you, I suspect my kids would be the first to say this around a glass of red juice later around the bar. He's a Neanderthal. He's a traditionalist. And they're right, by the way. So I'm still that guy that thinks athletics needs to be tethered to the academy. I think it's critical. And I won't stand for conversation in any other direction. I know we're going to commercialize more. I know we're going to professionalize. We're going to do all of those things. It's kind of the sign of the times. But at the end of the day, college athletics needs to remain tethered to the academy. I think short of that, that's the beginning of the end of the whole enterprise. And as a first-generation person myself, I just think it's critical. And maybe I'm not objective, but that's not negotiable for me.
Well, I think we're running out of time here, so on behalf of everyone who's had an opportunity to be in your orbit, I want to thank you for being a titan in this industry and really helping us get to the point where we are now. And now we're going to turn the mantle over to others to maybe keep it going. But thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate everything you've done. You are the utmost, the best. And thank to the Kevin White family, because we've taken a lot of your time. You've mentored a lot of people, and that took time away from your family. And that does not go unnoticed. So thank you to the entire White family, particularly Jane. Yeah. Thank you.
Stan, I will say one thing, and I'm going to get out of the way. I'm reminiscing a lot these days, and a lot of reflection. And I'm a big traditional Irish music person, and that might not come as a surprise to many of you, based on what I've already said. But there's a song called "The Town I Love So Well," and NACTA isn't a town, but it is a village. And you people are the NACTA village, and I love each and every one of you, and I've loved being part of it for 38 years. So God bless you, and thanks my best friend here for doing this. Thank you. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Stan. Congratulations.